And welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus on this Tuesday, May 13th. It's 1:08 in the afternoon. Temperatures outside in the low 90s already, and we're on our way up to a near record high around 94. I'm Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki, along with our Ag Director, Bridgette Readel. And how's your day going so far, Bridgette?
It's a dry heat. Should we start with that?
It
so
is.
People aren't already off the charts. Okay. There's that. But boy, howdy, is it windy.
Oh,
I know you're going to do the weather, but this is going to lead me to several things in regards to current cropping situations with something called heat canker. So we're going to want to talk about that sometime in our hour together today.
I've never heard of that term.
You will after this.
All right. Well, let's get to the forecast because thankfully it is going to be changing as we head over the next couple of days. Not today, though. Again, we're in the lower 90s right now. Now, our record is 95. I think we're going to come pretty darn close to that. I'm calling for 94. It wouldn't surprise me if we tie the record, though. We'll have south winds that continue to gust over 40 miles an hour out there. Tonight, we'll have clear skies and lows in the mid-60s with south-southeast winds about 15 to 30. And then as we head into your Wednesday, we'll see a sunny start. Then a few clouds start to roll in from the south. Not as windy, south-southeast 15 to 30. Highs right in the lower 90s. Our record tomorrow is 93. We'll be close to that. And then as we head into Thursday, we'll see showers and a few thunderstorms throughout the area with highs close to 70. And then scattered showers on Friday with highs much cooler into the low 50s. And then it looks like we'll dry it out for the weekend. Could have some patchy frost Sunday morning. And then another storm system comes in by Tuesday of next week, giving us some beneficial rainfall throughout the area. We're getting strong indications from most of our models of about 1 to 2 inches of rain in the valley and into Lakes Country, with higher amounts from Bismarck out or Bismarck up towards Devil's Lake. Those areas could pick up 3-4 inches of rain out of these two storms. So we'll be keeping an eye on it, and it's much needed rain, that is for sure. And this weather is brought to you by Progressive Ag Risk Management Specialists. So much needed rain, Bridgette,
yes.
and I'm sure our farmers are happy.
Yeah, we're going to look forward to that because rate events right now mean that is a moment to have a little downtime. Maybe you can catch up on some sleep because the longer this goes on and the faster, furious pace we're working in, especially the heat and the wind don't help. Everybody gets tired out. We start to see more accidents. We don't need that. We want everybody to be safe while they're out there. And then additionally, when you have rain days, it becomes very much a fix and repair day. What broke that we have just band-aid together in order to keep going? How can we change it? So yeah, that's going to want to be the thing we do the quickest and the fastest.
Right.
Now, I mentioned heat canker. So the last few days with all the heat that we've had is very tough, particularly on small grains. And I'm seeing wheat fields up. Drove past some just in the last day or so. With these fields, what's happening is I want you to think about your driveway at the end of the day. When you walk out there on your bare feet, it's warm, reflecting the heat back to you. Our bare ground soils, the black soils that we have are going to reflect the heat back as well. But what they're doing is to those tender young plants like wheat and barley, and they can develop a heat canker. That is when that young tender tissue at the soil surface has more or less been cooked. Well, it becomes a yellow band that looks slightly constricted. As the leaf elongates or grows, that yellow band moves upward and away from the soil surface. Multiple bands will appear if the heat lasts for several days, which, let's see, we're going to have Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of heat. So we'll probably see 4 bands on those leaves. And with the wind, the plant tip can actually break off at the band because that's dead tissue going forward. So remember, new tissue grows from the stem of the plant outward. So what's at the tip can fall and break off. So you're going to have that ragged look to the field. Heat canker, for the most part, plants are going to recover from it very well. It's temporary. It should not further affect their development. Keep in mind that when you have the opportunity to go ahead and start spraying your first pass of herbicide, put a fungicide in, because if you have these plants that are ragged, they've been torn in the heavy wind that we've had, as they've been sandblasted by all these soil particles. Yep, that's my hand hitting the leaf right there. You can hear that. Then what you're going to do is use the fungicide, almost like a Band-Aid, to protect that leaf so that other diseases don't enter through it and cause further problems. So this is kind of what we're leading all up to. Keep that in mind as you are planning for your next spray applications. Again, those early season leaf disease fungicides, a good idea to keep them in the spray tanks.
Mm.
Okay, that's one thing.
Heat canker. All right. Well, hey, I learned something new today.
Yes. You're going to learn a second thing that's new today.
All
right. And that is, okay, so been super windy the last few days. It's not as though we've had a lot of opportunity to start spraying herbicides. In fact, many of my calls about spraying, particularly getting ready for corn, soybean, et cetera, have been out of the region where the wind hasn't been quite as strong. But one of the common theme I'm getting with sprayer calls is my spray tank is all the best way to describe it is like cottage cheese. Things aren't going into solution well. So I want you to think about like when you're baking a cake. You're putting all your components together in your mixer, and you're going to use some agitation, your beaters, to turn it into a smooth solution. That's kind of what you're doing when you are working on putting materials together in your spray tank. You need to have enough water in there. You need to have a light agitation to get things blended well together. But a common denominator on the calls I've been getting has been about mesotrione. Mesotrione is a herbicide we use. That's the name of an active ingredient. It is off patent, so there are generic varieties of it available, generic formulations. Sometimes those formulations aren't quite as quality as the brand names. And so the calls I've been getting specifically have some K-salt glyphosate. They have mesotrione in them. And because that quality on the mesotrione especially is a little questionable, we're seeing more and more sprayers that are clogging, also causing trouble at the nozzles and orifices. If you are looking at your packaging and saying, even when you open the cap or open the package and you say, this stuff doesn't look quite right, maybe don't use that, because there's stuff that's been holdover material in warehouses for a year or two. It's really not as good quality, and it's going to save you a lot of time if you had to clean out a sprayer later. So again, you can't spray when it's as windy and awful as it has been right now, but when the opportunity comes back that we can spray, just make sure you're using quality products. Again, follow your mixing orders. Even when you're adding in your micronutrients and starter fertilizers, just follow those, add the water, and watch your agitation, because that will help solve some of your problems. So a lot of things going on out there that we're getting phone calls on.
And Bridgette, have you heard anything? How's the sugar beets doing? Are they withstanding the wind for the most part?
You know, I would say that right now you have agronomists that are looking at fields. They aren't going to know for sure what the damage is until the wind dies down and we can take a look at them.
Okay.
Can we see if beets have blown out of the ground and are laying on top of the soil surface? Eventually we're going to see that, yes. But also, how dried out is that top layer of soil? Will we get rain later this week that will break the crust to allow those plants to come out and flourish? Because we're going to need that for corn as well. So I don't think we know our answers to that quite yet.
Okay. Kind of a wait and see situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, if we got a frost coming this weekend, I mean, there's potential, right? But I'm not going to get excited that we have this hard killing frost.
No.
There's potential for
it. The
coldest, it was a hard frost.
Yeah, the coldest I've seen on most of our models and I'm looking at is 34. Most of them are right around 35, 36. So.
Okay. Yeah. The reason I say that about a hard frost is you always have to wait a few days after the frost to see if any plants didn't know they were dead and then do die.
Right.
But at this stage of the game, our wheat's going to be fine. Our corn is still too small. A lot of our beans are just barely coming out of the ground. They should be just fine. And our ground is really quite warm.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No doubt. No doubt. Well, we've got a special guest coming on the show today. In fact, you sent some pictures over in our in-house system, and wow is all I could say.
Yeah. He's going to be coming here a little bit later. We're going to have Derek Mayer join us at 1:30. Derek is out in Mott, North Dakota. And I know Derek because of the work he does in agriculture and agronomy. But then he also was recently featured on a segment done by KFYR TV out in Bismarck, and it's about the tractor room. So Derek and his family literally took what I believe is Grandpa's toy tractor collection and took a building on Main Street in Mott and have made a tribute to Grandpa. So if you have not yet had a chance to go log in via Facebook or YouTube, so you can watch the live stream today to see the pictures of Derek's tractor collection, you're going to want to do that. And again, that's Facebook and YouTube. You can find us at Weather and Ag in Focus. You'll find us on Acres TV under the same name, And when you have questions during the show, you can call us on the JLA phone line, 701-293-9000. So I don't know, dude. If you ask him what his favorite one is, I don't know how he'd choose.
That was one of my questions. How can you possibly choose which one is your favorite? But just looking at the pictures, it's we'll let him answer.
Yeah.
I don't know how many hundreds he has just looking at the pictures, but it's
I'd say that we got to be in the thousands at the point
yeah.
of that picture. It's unreal.
It
Yeah.
is. It is. Yeah, this is one of our you got to watch this online today. These pictures are crazy, man.
These are awesome. So, and also don't forget, you're going to want to go to check it out. We have a bid on WDAY radio WDAYradionow.com, the big deals page, because there's a set of golf clubs. If you need them for the upcoming summer months, I don't know, Dean, what are these? Mizuno? Is that what they're called? Mizunos?
Correct. Yeah, those are good clubs. Those are real good clubs.
Yeah. Pro S3 Ultimate Shotmaker Iron Package. Get on over there and go check this out. There's a wedge set with the unmatched feel and control for golfers. You go look at those while we listen to the livestock market report, and we'll be back. that you are here. Again, if you have questions throughout our discussion today, you are certainly welcome to reach us on the JLA Insurance phone line, 701-293-9000. I have had so many discussions with folks about cybersecurity these days, but I'm no expert. I know the guy who is, and that's Chris Sherman. He can help you with your on-farm and agribusiness cybersecurity. Check him out at techsupportfarm.com. He has the self-assessment tool ready for your use to decide what you might need, and it'll surprise you what you might need. So things to keep in mind there. A shout out to Brady. He's an applicator over in Minnesota. He said their sugar beets are okay, Dean, because they've got a rye cover crop on. So what they did was planted sugar beets into the rye crop. The rye was up and standing, and it creates a protection and a cover for those plants, so they're less likely to get blown out in that particular field.
That's good. That's
nice
good.
plan, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
that was great.
And we've got Tom on line one. He's got a question for you, Bridgette. Tom, go ahead. What's your question for Bridgette?
Yeah, just real quick, Bridgette. So a lot of times when I used to add stuff to tanks, now this was mainly Roundup and a few fungicides as well. But if it was clotted, I would strain it. Now, was I straining out the good stuff that was clotted together, or it didn't seem to matter in what I was doing? But could a person do that? Could a person strain?
Mm-hmm. Now, when we're talking about large size sprayers, so I'm looking at 1,500 gallon sprayers, it's a little hard to strain some of that. Yep, they can certainly try. One of the ways to avoid that, and I want to answer your question too about is that the active material that's getting strained out or not. One of the ways to avoid some of that is when you have dry material, if you get a bucket, put the dry material in there with some water, particularly warm water helps, and pre-slurry it. It's kind of like making the flour water mixture for your gravy. Make that nice and smooth, then add it to the spray tank. So when you're talking about a smaller size sprayer and you're skimming the whatever buildup might be on the top, call it scum, call it clods, whatever, it's hard to say because if it's a dry product, yes, that would be active ingredient that's leaving. Otherwise, it might just be carriers. Some products are actually a clay base, and that could just be the clay that's reacting. So without knowing what's going into the tank, it's kind of hard to tell, but you have a great question there, Tom, and I'm glad you asked it. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Bridgette.
Anytime. Glad to help.
And good question.
Okay.
Good question from Tom.
Yeah. All right. Now, another one that I had earlier this morning was, we get into the no mow May. Our guest we had last week was NDSU Extension horticulturalist Don Kinsler, and Don has written several articles saying, you know what, not mowing in May and then putting the mowing back into your rotation is a bit traumatic to your lawn and garden. It really doesn't make a difference. So he has said, no mow May, doesn't matter. Don't do that. But then also I get the question about, should we let our dandelions go because of pollinator species like bees? I reached out to a gentleman who just recently graduated from K-State with his doctorate in entomology, particularly focusing on bees. His answer, it's a bit of a divided issue. There are an early pollen and nectar source for honeybees, but the pollen is not very nutritious. If the lawn is mostly grass, dandelions are better than nothing. But there are other plants that are far more nutritious for honeybees. An early blooming pollinator habitat would be better, but dandelions can be foraged on. So for all of you getting freaked out about what you should do with your dandelions, I hope that helps you make your decision. They're just not the most nutritious thing for your honeybees. Think of something different. Yeah.
Interesting.
Goodness, we're covering a lot of ground on a variety of things today. I'm hoping to go see our wheat field in the next day or so and to not find heat canker in it after we just talked about that. Because our wheat's not out of the ground yet, so we should be safe.
And I'll tell after this upcoming rain, and if you want to know how much rain we're expecting, you could log on to our website, WDAYradionow.com, or our Facebook pages, Weather and Ag and Focus, and you'll find that there. And I'll tell you what, many areas of the state going to see quite a bit of rain. Now, our models are kind of flip-flopping back and forth on who's going to see the heaviest. One of the models had I think it was 8 inches of rain out around Bismarck. Now that's going a little overboard. Yeah,
Goodness.
that's going a little overboard. But I do think there's going to be some very heavy rain from Bismarck out into the Watford City areas, that's great news because those are some of the drier areas of the state. We could all use the rain, but those areas need it the most, and it looks like they should receive quite a bit. Again, that's over the next week to 10 days.
Well, let's not forget, for those of you who have rain gauges from WDAY Weather and Ag in Focus, make sure that you are sending us your rain totals later this week when those gauges start to fill up. We appreciate the support of Darter Industries out of Fergus Falls for making them for us, but we're going to give away lots more this year. We're going to get started on a new feature for us as well, Dean. And you know what? I only got to double check. Is our first day doing that tomorrow?
Well, and I
I got
talked.
to look at our list.
I talked to Brad, and he said if we could hold
Yeah.
off until next Wednesday.
Okay.
Yeah, he said
That's
he's not working on a few things. He said so.
Okay. Well, that just builds the anticipation for everybody that
Right.
next week we'll have Weather Wednesday trivia. So that's going to work out great.
Yeah, and these rain gauges, these are really really nice rain gauges, and they help us out. They help the National Weather Service because then we can report different rainfall totals throughout the area with these rain gauges because they are certified by the National Weather Service. So that's good news there. And
Yes.
so yeah, it helps all of us out.
All right. Speaking of helping us out, that's what our guest is going to do. Let's hear the news. But when we return, I can't wait to talk to Derek Mayer with the Tractor Room in Mott, North Dakota. Stay tuned. And a thank you to our partners in our Here We Grow project this year, custom farming, 20 acres of wheat. One of them is Codeco Fuels and Propane. Whether you're planting, thinking about harvest, even back in the dead of winter, your farm doesn't stop, and neither do they. They make sure that you have fuel, propane, and everything to keep your operation running. So they'll go the extra mile delivering fuel and propane when you need it and might need it most. And also to Ellingson Companies, because they're going to help you optimize your cost. You work with a trusted contractor with the resources for a precise and custom drainage solution. So again, thanks to them for being part of our Here We Grow project. And thanks to our guest who's joining us today. That's Derek Mayer. Derek is out in Southwest North Dakota. So Derek, we've been Googling pictures of your collection. Tell us about you and what is going on at the tractor room.
Well, it's fairly quiet for the most part. You get some random people, and, so that's kind of what's happening, I guess. So I'm building some display boards in my spare time, I guess, too. So,
Okay, so you are in Mott, North Dakota, correct?
yep, that's correct.
And so this was a building on Main Street, if I'm not mistaken, and you chose to bring Grandpa's tractor collection, his toy collection, to town. Is that how this worked?
Not quite. There is a building on Main Street, but that
Okay.
building houses my grandpa's pedal tractor.
Oh,
Pedal of over 300 pedal tractors, and he
300.
actually put that together when he was still alive. And he had help from the city and got that set up, and it's still there, open to the public, or if it's not open, there's always somebody that can get a hold of to let people in. My wife and I built a building at our place and took on the 16th scale toy tractors that he had. And so that's what the tractor room is about, is his toy tractor collection.
Interesting. And Derek, you broke up a little bit there, and I couldn't tell, or I couldn't hear if you said how many pieces do you have?
So there's over 1,000 16th scale toy tractors in the tractor room.
Wow.
And then I have a fair collection of 1/64th scale toys that I've collected over the years as well. So we don't have a nailed down amount on how many are here. I guess I've tried to count them a few times, and you get lost sometimes.
If you had to, I mean, we're looking at pictures online here and on air, and it looks amazing. If you had to give a guess, how many pieces would you guess?
Somewhere between 1,000 and 1,200.
Okay.
Is
that
a fair statement?
That's that's. I mean, just the pictures look amazing, and well, wow. Now, is this? I know this is. You've probably been asked this before, but is there a particular favorite that you have, and why?
So there is one. When I was a kid, young, I got a Case tractor as a I don't know, a gift or something, and I played with it, and I was a pretty good kid, pretty good to my toys. I took pretty good care of them. But anyway, I gave that toy that I had back to him, and it's actually sitting on the shelf here. So if I had to pick one, I would say it was that one. So, and it's in original condition, never been repainted, and it's in pretty good shape actually. So.
Did you say what make and model it is?
So it's actually off a 1370 Case. It doesn't have a number on them.
Okay.
For
1370 Case.
Sometimes Readel didn't put model numbers on there because, well, I assume it's because there was a 1370 and a 1070 and a 1570, 1170 looked the same.
Mm-hmm.
and they didn't have a beach. It just kind of covered them all. But it would. We had 1370s on the farm when I was a kid, I guess. So that's what I
So
call it.
when you think about the age of the tractors, Derek, do do you have something that's from the 1960s up to current day? What's the span of the toy tractor models that you have in there?
Well, myself back, steel wheels and steamers, but toy tractors probably came out in the 60s, I would guess. I don't exactly know when Readel started. And actually, Readel was the first. Uh, Arcade was an old toy company that started making toy tractors. They were probably one of the first.
Hmm.
So, and there is a couple arcade toy tractors on the shelf. So,
Okay.
Arcade's been out of business for many, many years. So, but
Do you
Arcade
very
was one of the.
Okay. Do you find very often that you have a match of, let's say it's a 4450 and a John Deere, and you've got not only the 164 size but the 1/16th size, so that you have the matching pair, if you will, in both sizes?
Not too often, I guess.
Okay.
I started collecting the 164th when I was a kid, and I kind of collected what was out there for real tractors at the time. So I didn't uh, I didn't necessarily try to get all the models. I guess I just
Sure.
kind of pick and chose which ones.
Hmm.
So I would go to toy shows with my grandpa when I was a kid. We'd go to several a year, and was just, I don't know, really intrigued by all these toy tractors and the toy shows and what everybody had to display and for sale, and it's kind of how I got hooked on them.
It looks to me like you don't discriminate, that everything is either a Case or an Oliver or a Farmall. It looks like you have pretty much anything that you would so choose that strikes your fancy, you might say.
Yeah, he was, as the farm progressed, he was a John Deere guy. But when he
Hmm.
collected toys, he was colorblind, I guess would be the best way to put it. He didn't stick with one color. He just, if there was a model out there he didn't have, he bought it. So,
Now, Derek,
and it,
I'm sorry. Go
go
ahead,
ahead.
Derek.
So the collection started, he started collecting in 1979. He had
Okay.
bought two 8640 John Deere tractors from the local John Deere dealer here in Mott, real tractors. And him and the owner of the business were real good friends. And then the owner gave him a replica, a 16 scale model of it. And that's basically what started this madness.
And Derek, have you ever had any collectors from across the country offer you, like, say, hey, I'd love to buy half of your collection? Anything like that?
No,
No.
nobody's offered to buy it. We've had some people stop that say, yeah, I got a few, they collect a few here and there. But for the most part, nobody's ever really asked, I guess.
Okay.
Do you have any duplicates that are sitting on the shelf next to each other?
So
I
are
don't
none
think.
in the room.
Say that again. Our what room?
Did I? There are none, no two alike in the tractor room. Well,
Okay.
they may look
Wow.
alike, they may look like the next one to it, but there'll be something different about it. Whether one has fenders and one doesn't, or the exhaust pipe is different or something, but they are all unique.
Now, you mentioned that there's 300 pedal tractors that are in this in a
Yep,
separate collection, if you will. Um, are
yep.
those all original? Are they reproductions? Have they been restored? What do those look like?
They are. Some of them are original. Um, most of them have. He was a guy that wanted to have them look like they just came out of the box. So he would buy um, maybe some beat up ones that needed fixing, and he would restore it, repaint it, put new decals on it, new tires, and so they were pretty much all restored, except for the newer models that came in a box, or there's some custom models that where people make unique ones, and those would be new, of course. And the pedal tractors date back to the first year there was a pedal made was 1947 or 8, I believe.
I see everything in there from Minneapolis Malines to some original JI case. I mean, there's a little bit of everything in this pedal tractor collection, from what I can tell.
Yep, yep. He that was another thing. He just collected whatever he could. Didn't matter what color it was. He did make a lot of implements that were scaled down to the pedal tractors. He made round balers, square balers, grinder mixers, gravity wagons. I don't know what else is down there, and those are on display in there as well. So
So, Derek, as folks are getting ready for the summer travel season, they want to get out and about and see the local sites here in North Dakota, maybe on their way to Medora, and don't mind taking a little jog through the city of Mott. How can they see the pedal tractor collection and so much more? Do you have those on a Facebook page or anything, or how would you like folks to get in contact you if they'd like to visit more?
So we have, my wife and I have a Facebook page for the tractor room where we have the 16th scale tractors, and the
Mm-hmm.
Facebook page is called the Tractor Room. We can message us through there, or my cell phone is available at 701-260-3525. They can
Mm-hmm.
call. We don't have set hours, I guess, on the tractor room, but if one of us is available and around, we're more than welcome to open the door and let people check it out.
It's pretty spectacular collection. Derek, last question for you, Derek. What does your crop look like out there in southwestern North Dakota? You guys are probably looking for a rain as bad as we are, right?
Yes, we desperately need rain. Although right here around Mott, we're better off than places. But our crop conditions for planting were really good, and that was a blessing, I guess. But yeah, we desperately need some rain. There's been some fires because of the dry and wind and whatnot, but definitely need some rain. So crops do look good. What's out there?
Well, we're going to hope for the best for you as well as for us. Thanks for taking the time to visit today, Derek. We appreciate it.
You bet. Thanks, Bridgette.
Thanks, Derek. And when we come back, we'll talk about a little bit more about that rain that's headed throughout much of the state coming up here before the week is done. We'll have that and touch on a couple of ag topics when we come back. And welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. It's 1:54 in the afternoon, 91 degrees. But the heat index, let's call it a wind chill out there this afternoon, Bridgette. The wind chill is 87. Yet the air temperature is 91. So it actually feels cooler than it actually is.
Thank God for 35-mile-an-hour winds just to make you feel 4 degrees cooler, I guess.
The low dew points, low humidity, that happens in very arid or desert regions where you can have an air temperature of 100, but the heat index is sometimes 5 to 10 degrees cooler. And that's what we're getting out there today, a little wind chill effect, if you will, if you're sick of the heat. And we do have some much-needed rain coming our way. Not till Thursday, though. We could see some squeeze in here Wednesday night, but I think Thursday and Friday are going to be the main rain days, and we're getting strong indications of up to an inch of rain up and down the valley. Could be some pockets of heavier rains, but that looks like a good bet. And then there's another system next week, next Tuesday, Wednesday, it looks like, where we could pick up an additional inch, a half inch to inch next week. So again, this is all great news. We need the moisture. Boy, do we need the moisture. And this will definitely take care of a lot of this blowing dirt that we've had and dust over the last couple of days. This will ease also the fire danger quite a bit as well. So good news all around finally. There's a slight chance that storm next week might pass just to our south, but let's wait and see. The one we got the first one to deal with, and then we'll concentrate on the one after that as we head into next week. So, like I said, finally we've got some good news coming out of the weather department instead of all this hot, windy, dry weather.
We could take a rain shower right now. That'd be okay.
No doubt.
Now, for many of us, when the rain slows down and after our fields have dried out a little bit, we can get back into them. It's going to be time to take care of some weed control. First of all, this rain will activate pre-emergent herbicides that are already on the field but have been just waiting for the rainfall to make them a go. We'll see a lot of our crop take off very quickly as we continue to watch those growing degree days build. But we know that when it comes to putting those spray tanks together to go out to the field, there's several things we need to keep in mind. One of them is that water can be considered hard, right? And that has high levels of calcium, magnesium, or bicarbonate ions. When you have hard water, you do have to make some adjustments in what you are doing with your sprayer when you're depending on what you're adding to it, etc. pH of your liquids really does matter as well. pH can influence the activity in the plant as well as what happens in its interaction with active ingredients within the spray tank. So keep those factors in mind, because if the pH of the water in a spray tank is between 6 and 8, then it's suitable for spraying. If not, there are actually things you can add to the tank to help adjust your solution so that we aren't going to cause plugging problems or reactions on the plant when they're sprayed out, because plant response, particularly as we get further into the growing season, can indeed be a hamperance to yield, and we're trying to avoid that type of thing happening. So those are just some of the things that farmers are keeping in mind as they are trying really hard to mix up great spray solutions to control not only weeds, but bugs and potential for further disease while they're out in the field. Meanwhile, we also have a movement amongst many homeowners to start doing more home gardening. That's awesome. Glad to hear it. It's actually something, there's a movement called cottagecore where everybody wants to romanticize the farm life and have a much simpler life full of raising your own food and having your own chickens and cattle. Good luck doing that. I think you can have some real initial hurdles to getting started, but it's maybe not quite as romanticized as people might think. There's still a lot of work involved.
If it was just that easy, right?
That's exactly right. I don't have time to go tripping through my garden wearing my pastel floral dress, because that's what these guys think it looks like. So, no.
Boy. Well, we want to thank everybody for joining Bridgette, myself here on Weather and Ag in Focus. Don't go anywhere. The Jay Thomas Show, it's coming up next.